We're back to the Neil Haley Show here on the Total Celebrity segment. I'm excited about my co-host, Greg Hanna from Toss C3. Greg, how are you, man? And it's always interesting to talk to different celebrities and athletes and learn their backgrounds. You've been learning a lot so far since we've been doing this, right?
It's been phenomenal. All the guests have been amazing. I can't wait to talk to our guests today.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to welcome the program former college and NFL player Kyle Auffray. Kyle, thanks for stopping by, man. And let's kind of go through understanding you. Where did you grow up, and did you always want to be a football player?
Born and raised in New York, just north of New York City, upstate near West Point. And as of third grade, I think, my first, those old letters you have to yourself in third grade was, what your goal is, what do you want to do? Everyone was a fireman or police. And I've been writing since third grade. I want to be in the NFL. So that was always what I wanted to do. I grew up watching the 90s Cowboys when the Cowboys used to be good. My dad grew up a Jets fan, which never really helped the football argument, but and still to this day, sorry for any Jets fans out there, but just grew up. We always, football was on Sundays for us. Grew up watching the NFL and was always wanted to play. I was a Brett Favre, Peyton Manning kind of guy, and that's those were kind of my role models kind of growing up.
Okay. All right. So, and very interesting, Greg, so far what we're learning about Kyle and always wanting to be a football star. That's usually what we hear when we talk to athletes, right, Greg?
It's really true. But, that's interesting that you mentioned that because, at the third grade, you're talking about the power of focus and attraction. I mean, you put that on a piece of paper in third grade and you burn that into, your future. That's pretty amazing. Have you done that your whole life? Did you continue doing that with other areas?
Yes. I would say the short answer is yes. So for me, I was just, I don't want to say different growing up. I just had, and even to this day, I just always had different priorities than everyone else. I didn't really grow up playing video games. I always wanted to be outside. I always wanted to be playing sports. My dad was a two-sport college athlete. So I just always, on Sundays, I was at the gym. On Tuesday nights and Thursday nights after school, after homework, growing up from when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, my dad still played basketball in men's leagues and adult league. And I was at the gym with him every night until 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Just always where a lot of my friends were playing, video games. I was finding a ways to get into a gym, finding a way to play some type of sports. I was a big basketball player, traveled AAU. I went from football season right into high school basketball or middle school or modified basketball. Then I went right from basketball season to travel basketball in the spring to lacrosse, then right into football camp starting in June, July in the summer into football season. So it was a sports family. It was just, I missed out on a lot, what people would say was a lot. And I missed out on parties and this and that, but I wasn't missing out, in my opinion. I was having opportunities that no one else was having because of sports. And so it just always kept me going. I wanted to play college football. I wanted to play on the big stage sometime. NFL was always my dream, but I knew there were steps. And so I just led a different life. I never drank. I never partied. I still to this day, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs, nothing. I'm as straight edge as they come. And everyone asked me why, why don't you want to have a drink? And they're like a little put back when I say, no, I don't drink. They're like, I'm outgoing, I'm outspoken, I'm a big guy. And I'm just like, I never have, it was always a distraction. It was always, I don't know, it's just a different mindset. I've just always had a different mindset than people. And sports was a great way for me to focus on what I really like to do and always better myself. And it's taken that out of sports, and I've rolled that into the world of business and where I am today. So it's, I don't know if I answered your question. I don't remember your question.
It's great. It's a great.
It sounded really good.
That was great.
On my end, it sounded really good. So
that's a great answer, Kyle. All right.
Yeah.
So let's talking about, your father and how he would play sports, and you're staying that laser focus
Yep.
on your goals and dreams, and that you're different than other people.
Yep.
Kind of tell me when you knew, hey, you can play at least college football. What age were you when you knew that that's going to happen for sure?
So it was my sophomore year of high school. I remember I was at the Penn State college football camp.
Okay.
And I was a quarterback in high school, quarterback in college up until my junior year. And we were at the Penn State camp, and I won the award for the biggest arm. So they do a quarterback competition back then. I don't know if they still do it. It was, who could throw the ball the farthest. And I threw, I was a sophomore in high school, and I'm 6'6", so I was a big kid, and I had a big arm, but I wasn't a baseball guy, just naturally had a big arm. I threw the ball, I think it was like 72 yards.
Wow.
And for a 10th grader, it was, I won the big arm award. And that's when, Penn State wasn't looking at me at the time, but, then some of the other smaller D1 schools that are at these bigger camps, the Delawares, the Hofstra back at the time, they started, talking to me because they, this kid's got a big kid, big arm, good athlete. And that's when I kind of knew, like, hey, I can start, I'm getting a lot of looks for football. My idols, again, were Brett Favre and the Peyton Mannings. And although I was also a really good basketball player, I actually had more offers to go play basketball in college than football. I just felt like I could go further with football. The 6'6" is an average basketball player. A
Right.
6'6" quarterback is a above average quarterback, right? It was ahead of me. I think at Delaware, it was a transfer from Pitt. It was Joe Flacco was a
I remember
Pitt
Flacco.
transfer.
Yeah.
So I was watching him. I always watched him because he was a tall guy like me, right? So he was a few years ahead of me. Really, really big arm. And so guys like that made me think, like, look at all the great quarterbacks in the NFL. They're all that 6'5", 6'6" size. Right. And I was like, that could be me. And my story of how I got to Mississippi State is just, it's funny. So my backup quarterback in high school was a kid named Dave Boister. His grandfather was a guy named Tom Boister, who was the director of pro personnel for the New York Giants. So he worked in the Giants, was there for 30 years. He's the guy who drafted Eli Manning. He was a big name in the organization for a while. He came up to me my sophomore year in high school and said, hey, do you want to play college football? And I said, I'd love to. He goes, would you have any interest in playing in the SEC? And I'm like, absolutely, right? I'm thinking Tennessee, Peyton Manning. I'm thinking Georgia, Florida, all the SEC. That in the Northeast, you only get a few SEC games. It's not like football in the South. And he's like, would you ever consider going to Mississippi State? And I was like, I have no idea where that is. I was like, I need to pull up a map. I've never heard of them. Are they what? I nothing, never. And so by the end of my senior year, I had gone down on a visit. So his college roommate, he went to Mississippi State back in the 50s. His college roommate was a guy named Rocky Felker, who was the personnel director at Mississippi State. So that was where the connection was. I fly down there with my dad. We fly from LaGuardia to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Columbus, Mississippi. You get off a one terminal airport, and the baggage claim is under a tent, and the rental car is a double wide. Coming out of LaGuardia. My dad, born and raised in New York City, is like, what the heck I'll keep it PG. What the heck are we doing here? Where are we? Why are we here? Exactly. And then you drive off the airport onto a dirt road. This was back in 2007, 2006. So a lot of development since then. But at that point in time, Mississippi State, the football program was just coming off a lot of sanctions from the previous head coach, NCAA violations, recruiting issues, paying players, this and that. New head coach, Sylvester Croom, came in to clean up the program. And I was getting looked at by bigger schools in the Northeast, not bigger schools, different schools in the Northeast, Ivy Leagues, UConn, Syracuse, Boston College, a lot of the higher academic. And so he goes down there and said, look, our scholarships got cut in half because of our current issues, with the sanctions, but you would basically be able to come here and almost a full ride academically, because the academic standards in Mississippi are a little bit below those of the Northeast. And we drive out there in the middle, we're driving through cow pastures, and we're talking deep Mississippi into this gorgeous campus with this, I mean, it was massive to me. It's 60,000 person stadium, you know, double-sided. And I'm like, I stepped on campus. I'm like, I'm coming here. This is it. And my dad's like, well, let's take a step back. Let's consider all the options. I was like, there's no other option. This is where, like, this is the football. This is the South, right? This is college heaven. And then I just remember I went down, I ended up going there, went down there, middle of the year. I had gone to prep school for a year, so transferred middle of the year, get there in January, off-season workouts, everything's going well. We get there that first game, fall camp, my freshman year, true freshman year, and it's LSU opening night at home, and we lose 49-0. And they were down to, we lost all three quarterbacks out in the first game. So it was down to a JUCO transfer, a walk-on, and then me. And I was very nervous if we continue to play the game anymore that I might have to actually play. But it was great. It was a life-changing experience for me. Some of my best friends are still from Mississippi State that I talk to every day. And I'll tell you, anybody listening, that college football in the South, especially in the SEC, is a whole another animal. It was back then, it still is. And I loved every minute of it. So that's how I got to, I'm sure the question was coming, how do you get to Mississippi State from New York? So I was,
No, I
day.
like the story, Kyle, because you're a good storyteller and you told the story, and that's what people, and it's interesting, Greg, always to look at that. My recruiting story, I played Division III college basketball at Western Maryland, which is McDaniel College, and then I ended up going to go play at La Roche. I'm a legitimate 6'10". I was not the greatest basketball player, but I was pretty good. But I got recruited to go become a professional wrestler, put on all this weight, and was a pro wrestler for X amount of years. So that's another story, Kyle, for another time, another place. But I understand that recruiting process. And you go to all the schools, you see these different things, and you're like, okay, SEC, big crowd. I'm not playing Ivy League in front of 10,000 people or playing D2. So it was a no-brainer, Greg. You're going to play in front of 60,000 people, or you're going to play in front of 20,000 that maybe they won't even be 20,000. And are you going to have the opportunity to be in the best league in college football, the SEC? So there's the no-brainer, Greg.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, Kyle, did you get to play that first game?
No, and I unfortunately I had a knee injury. I dislocated my kneecap when I was there in the off season, and then I was just a backup for a little while. They had some coaching changes. Coach Kroom, there's actually, I think, at ESPN 30 for 30 on him. Great coach, great man. He was the first Black SEC coach, and he came from Green Bay, so he was actually Brett Favre's offensive coordinator in Green Bay. Brett Favre used to come to our practice because he's a Mississippi guy, which was like a dream. Meeting him was a dream come true for me. Brett Favre's daughter went to Mississippi State. Wasn't my motivating factor. Didn't work out. I met her once or twice, but it was a whole eye-opening experience for me. So I was essentially a walk-on there. I was on an academic scholarship, but essentially on paper I was a walk-on. And then the new coaches, when Coach Kroom got let go, the new coaches were coming in. Dan Mullins came in from Florida as offense coordinator, the head coach. And I made it, he was bringing some of his quarterbacks and his system with him. So I actually made that decision to transfer. I transferred up to New Hampshire for my last 2 years, which hindsight's 2020. I wish I maybe wouldn't have. New Hampshire was great, afforded me the opportunities, moved me to tight end, this and that. Wasn't the path that I had imagined for myself, but that's it is what it is. Worked out well in the end for me. I appreciate all my time and my people at Mississippi State. I appreciate my time at New Hampshire, and ended up again giving me the opportunities to be a undrafted free agent in the NFL, and end up signing with 4 teams over a few years. So it is what it is. It was,
You gave you the opportunity, and would that opportunity came in as a quarterback?
Yeah.
You think if you would have stayed quarterback and not transferred to tight end, played at tight end, could you have played in the NFL and quarterback?
I don't know. There was some pretty good talent coming out of Mississippi State when Mullins got there. I don't know if you've heard of a guy named Dak Prescott. He's pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. Wait,
And
really,
so
I mean,
you know,
yeah,
there were some better fits. I know how the politics behind college football work, and call it politics, but you have relationships with coaches. Coaches leave, and now it's even worse with the NIL rules. We don't have to go there. That's a whole nother 2-hour podcast. But there's system quarterbacks in college. It's a big system program, so I didn't think I was a good fit for the Dan Mullen system because it was a run heavy quarterback hybrid, like the Tim Tebow's. Think of a Tim Tebow type.
And you're
I saw myself
that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Yeah, I saw myself as more of a heavy passing. New Hampshire was actually Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator at New Hampshire before his run at Oregon and now UCLA, where it's that run and gun, throw the ball 60 times a game. That was more appealing to me. And then he ended up, when I transferred there, he had left for Oregon. So there was just a lot of constant adversity that I faced throughout my career, which at the end of the day made me a better person and who I am. So I could put my head down and be upset about how it was. And it was a really hard decision for me to leave Mississippi State because I had built great friends. I loved it. I loved the campus. I still consider myself a Mississippi State person, even though I'm not a true alumni. I didn't graduate there. I go back to the games every year. I have friends there. I have, so it's my heart and my home is in Mississippi State, even though I live in Atlanta now. But it was all a great experience that molded me to who I am today. So,
it's pretty incredible stuff. So you mentioned you had the chance to be free agent at 4 NFL teams.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, one of them was New England.
Yes.
Being that's my home team.
There you go.
You had a great story to tell me about New England Patriots.
So I do. New England Patriots. So I don't know if this is exactly how it played out, but I was with the Cardinals my first NFL season. I was with the Cardinals in the whole offseason through camp. Got let go. Was dealing with a back injury. Got healthy. New England brought me in for a workout like 4 times. So on the Patriots was a guy that you guys probably know, a guy named Joe Judge, who was the head coach of the Giants. He's now back as the OC quarterback coach of the Patriots today. Joe Judge was my GA at Mississippi State. So he was the GA at Mississippi State, which is why I said you got to know, again, coaches knowing you, this and that. So he was able to speak for who I was as a person. He knew me when I was younger. His now wife was on the soccer team at Mississippi State. And so having a familiar face and knowing somebody walking into an organization like that is a big help. He was a special teams coach. He's a brilliant coach. He's very, very good, very professional. And I'm sure my name being on the board and him being like, yeah, I know that kid, let's at least get him in. It was great. I was in and out. I was a good fit for them. I'm that blue-collared, hardworking guy. I'm not the most talented tight end in the league, but I will give you 120% effort every single snap, which is what the Patriots way. And just being able to be there for the offseason with them. Unfortunately, I was there because Gronk was injured. I was one of their. I added depth to their roster in the offseason when Gronk was recovering. As soon as he got healthy, I was soon shipped off to the Cleveland Browns, which is a downgrade, to say the least, in a positive way. And that year was 2014 when the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl. So I went from possibly winning a Super Bowl ring to a stint with the Cleveland Browns, which didn't pan out. And then I ended up with the Oakland Raiders for my last stint. Their whole coaching, I was there with Jack Del Rio and that whole squad, and their whole coaching staff got fired halfway through the season. David Allen, was the head coach. Jack Del Rio was there. The whole coaching staff got fired, and they let a bunch of players, and that was my last NFL appearance. But listen, Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in NFL history. It's not arguable. They run a tight ship there, which is why some players don't love it. But they want to run a winning ship. And the same reason why some players don't like going to play for Nick Saban in Alabama is because it's his way or the highway, but his way is the winning way. I don't care if you like him, you don't like him. If you hate Alabama and you went to Auburn, you still have to have respect for these guys. And Bill Belichick was. I learned in my short few weeks with the Patriots. I learned almost more about football than I learned in 10 years playing, just because of how he teaches the game, what he teaches, sitting in a locker room and in meetings with Tom Brady and Julian Edelman and all these guys and being on practice with them and catching passes from Tom Brady. I mean, that alone is a life-changing experience for anyone, even if it wasn't on the game field.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You got paid to play with Tom Brady.
I got paid to catch passes from Tom Brady, whether it was in practice or in a game. I tell people I had no business being in the NFL. I was a college walk-on. I transferred. I became a tight end my junior year up at a 1AA school. I played limited my senior year as a tight end at New Hampshire. And then coming out was the year 2011, 10-11 was the year of the lockdown. So there was no off season. There was no spring training. I wasn't invited into any camps, none of that. And then I had to literally come out. I was out of college a year and moved down to Miami, paid my own way, got a job and trained with Pete Bomarito down at Bomarito Performance for the whole year in hopes to get another opportunity to try to make it to an NFL team. So I went from an undrafted free agent with no one knew who I was, no business being in the NFL, and I said, I don't want to give up on this. Went down to Miami, trained, worked my ass off, got a job at a nightclub, which is very hard to train at 8 a.m. when you were up working till 4 a.m. I will tell you that. But I did it. And, it was, to me, it was worth it every step of the way. So.
Wow. It's such a great story.
Yeah.
Just to know.
I don't tell it enough like that. I don't tell all that.
So that's where we need to talk. We need to talk. That's what I do is help people with stories. I loved your brand on LinkedIn, your look. We got to talk about that. An additional call down the line to find out what you're doing, because I understand this. I'm a legitimate 6'10", you're 6'6", so we're gonna have to at one point hang out whenever I'm in Atlanta, hang out together and all that stuff. But what I hear in this story is perseverance, a story of perseverance. How many people get the opportunity to play in the NFL, get 4 teams, get to play with these amazing people, but to have that story with the Patriots.
And get 4 teams to sign me. And all of them where I walked in on a workout basis as a tryout, and all 4 of them signed me based off of one workout. That
just shows these stories. I mean, literally, I hear these stories all the time, and that's what the NFL is about. People have to understand. The NFL is about, if you can work with people, you can do certain things. There was a lot of players better than you in Mississippi State, and you made it to the NFL and they didn't. So there you go. That's because how many the number's crazy. So it's a business, and you understand that business. So I'm going to go right now, Greg, just to ask him a question about life after football, what he's currently doing, and get one more question for Greg. You can ask Kyle that after that. So tell me life after football. What are you doing?
So I'm currently doing like 500 things. I am the big thing is 2 things right now. One is I'm one of the business directors and advisors for Comcast Sports Tech. So we run there's a sports tech accelerator here in Atlanta. And it's a 12-week program. We bring in 10 startup companies that are in the sports world every year. We help them develop them, improve their product, their sales pitch, their deck, help them in any ways they need it. It's a hands-on program. And then we take them out to the Comcast partners, which is NBC Sports, the PGA, NASCAR, WWE, and we help build those technologies and innovation for those sports entities. We then also continue after the program, take them out and help where we need it. So if the NFL is interested, or Major League Soccer, or wherever they need help with, or maybe just commercial businesses. Comcast has, their commercial side, Comcast Business, Comcast Food and Beverage. There's a lot of plug and plays for these technologies outside of sports as well. And I continue to help a lot of those startups. The other thing I'm doing right now is it's also a health tech startup. It's called Managed Health. It's a proactive wellness, health and wellness benefits program for businesses. It also comes with a lot of tax incentives provided under the Affordable Care Act. And we go into any companies, 50 to 50 million employees, it doesn't matter the size, and we help them offer a great additional benefit to their employees. It's separate and away from major medical. It's a total, it's a wellness preventative, how to help you lose weight, how to help you quit smoking, how to help you lower your A1C, whatever it is. And for that, it offers tax deductions to the employees and FICA tax savings to the businesses. So for instance, a business with 1,000 employees, if all employees were enrolled in our program, they could save up about $600,000 a year in payroll taxes.
Is that your business? Is that your business, Kyle?
Yeah, man, it's called Managed Health. You can go to managedhealth.com. That's what I'm doing now that the Comcast program's over. I'm on the advisory board for Managed Health. But now that I have a little bit more free time, I'm spending a lot more time doing that. And so I do a lot of business consulting. I work with about 6 or 7 of the startups in the program from the last 2 years. I keep helping out with them. And then I'm doing the managed health thing right now, which is taking off, especially with the current economic situation. Employers are looking for ways to A, save money on taxes, which we help with, B, add great benefits to their employees, especially with a lot of the health concerns going on in the world today, if you haven't paid attention for the last few years. And then B, it's a way to kind of help fight, help on the tax savings for the employees a little bit. Doesn't compete with inflation, but it helps a little bit for them to save with some of their pre-tax deductions. So it's a really great product that we're rolling out. We just did a partnership with ADP last month. So ADP has 26,000 businesses that they do payroll with. So we're starting to implement our program with some of the ADP companies as well. And we just have a lot going on. That's a big name, but we work with McDonald's and Amazon and some really large entities. So this is we're excited about the future of managed health. So,
all right, Greg, you have one more question for Kyle.
Great. So two quick ones to tie into one. So obviously you've got a great entrepreneurial bent, Kyle. And where did you get that from? And in the entrepreneurial world and business, do you prefer like the operations side, marketing, or sales?
So I got it from my dad, to answer your first question. So my dad was a financial advisor, worked on Wall Street growing up, then started working, it was back in the day with Smith Barney, which is now Travelers Group. There's a throwback for you, for all you financial people listening. But then he went off on his own. And when me and my sister got to about middle school that he went off on his own. And looking back now, the reason is because it gave him more flexibility for a better work-life balance. So my dad never missed a sporting event our entire lives for me and my sister. And if we had competing events, my mom was at one and my dad was at the other. And that was something that they always prided themselves on. And it meant a lot to us. It meant a lot to me. And because my dad went off on his own, it gave him that affordability, right? He could still make a good living, provide for his family, but have that quality of life too. If I have a travel AAU tournament in wherever, if we grew up in New York, we have a tournament in Florida or Texas or wherever, he could be there and come to the games and still work and take calls from wherever. So seeing that growing up is kind of what it was more of. The entrepreneurial world for me was more about the quality of life. The money, the benefits, all that is also very great. But for me, it was quality of life. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I have 2 girls, a 3 and a 1-year-old. We want more kids down the road, and being able to sit at home right now and take these calls, and then I can take a break for 10 minutes and go see my kids and play with them and this and that is, I think, something how the world is shifting, which growing up that wasn't existing, right? It was, I leave at 8, I commute to work, be home at 5, be home at 6, be home at 7. If my dad had to commute into Wall Street every day, he would leave at 5:36 and be home at 8 at 9 every night, and I never see him.
Right.
My dad grew up without a father. His father left their family, abandoned him when he was 4. And so he made it his goal in his life to be a great father to us, which he was. And that showed me how to kind of really want to be that entrepreneurial spirit, being able to work for yourself, being able to be flexible. I've worked for other companies in the past. I think there's a lot of great businesses out there. I don't mind working for companies, especially in today's world. There is a lot more flexibility with working remote and hybrid and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not closed off to, if a company wants to retain my services, I'm all for it. But that entrepreneurial spirit, again, there's a risk reward on it if you don't know what you're doing, but it's a quality of life thing for me, and family time and freedom and flexibility is a big believer for me in my life. Your second question was,
Yeah, operations, marketing, or sales.
I'm a big strategy, business development, sales guy, client facing. I'm an art of the deal guy. I love closing big deals. I love client facing relationships. I love building things. That's why I love this accelerator program. We're helping companies build.
Yeah.
We're helping startups grow. We're making a difference. It's a twofold, right? It's the
Absolutely.
building, it's the growth and the building and that mindset that comes with it, which has been a part of my whole life. Plus it's the doing well by doing good side of it, right? I can take care of my family while helping out others grow, lifting other people up, right? The tides, the rising tides raise all ships kind of deal. I'm a big believer in that. Personally, for my family, for businesses that I work with, if everyone can be better, be more positive, be more optimistic, if I can help people close big deals and help other people who have these dreams of their companies and their startups take to the next level,
Absolutely.
I'm all for that.
All right. We're running out of time.
Yep.
Kyle, here's the thing. I'm telling you right now, I see you going out there and making money as a speaker, because really the stories that you could be telling about Belichick, all those different things, we're definitely going to chat sometime. Best place we can find information on you, Kyle, where can we go? Is it LinkedIn?
I would just say link. Yeah, you can. Kyle Auffray. I'm the only Kyle Auffray in the world. You can search me pretty easily on Google. If you need me, I'd love to be a speaker. If TEDx is listening, I'd love to do a TED talk, or whoever else. I've always wanted to be a speaker and motivational speaker. I've just never known about how to go that route.
We're going to definitely talk. I have those ideas. You need to write a book, doesn't he? Greg, he needs to write a book.
100%. Yeah.
With his story and everything, because everyone wants to play in the NFL. His story was different. He has different stories, and he has that entrepreneurial mindset. All right. And your website again, Greg? Yeah,
tossc3.com.
All right, fantastic. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again. And
Neil, Greg, thank you.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment.